Here's my plan for how I'll be handling the FOMC date. We've done these a lot in the past, actually, but like a very long time ago, they actually did quite well in terms of interest. So I figured it would be time to do it again because things are more or less boring on the short-term time frame. So I do want to be going over the biggest pivots for price action, essentially how to interpret it, what that means, and well, perhaps we could even create a plan around it. But before we get into that, I should actually let you know that we have our sale going on. Plus, you can even get any one of our indicator packages for free for the first 30 days with the code TRIAL. That would be TRIAL in all capitals. And then you got year 7 for 20% off if you decide that you actually want to own them. Anyways, we can apply this to, of course, the Quant Prime AI. That's the one that allows you to create, test, and automate your trades. The CT indicator bundle suite is just all of Caretaker's indicators in one package. And yes, you can actually try that for free for the first 30 days as well. Quantum wave bands and, of course, the VMP, which is all the way down here. All of those have that same offer with the first 30 days for free, and everything else plus that actually also has the year 7 offer for our 7th year anniversary. Absolutely fucking crazy. All right, cool. Let's jump into it over here. First things first, I just want to go over the overall range for Bitcoin here. Really don't expect too much outside of this range for today, but we could very easily get tests to even both sides of this range today, or maybe over these next couple days. And that would be between the 50% level on the 5-day HPDR at about $88,000, and to the downside, essentially the March lows, which are just below $77,000. Don't really expect anything, outside of that range for today. However, if things do get to the periphery of that range, could offer up a nice little trade, especially on the upside. Anyways, let's now go over the general analysis, and then we'll go into, what the major pivots are. And of course, going back here to the daily for Bitcoin, there's something that is, again, quite obvious that we've been speaking about for a long time now, which is as long as Bitcoin is below the March highs, there's no threat of an actual potential reversal. I could actually move that point down now from the official March highs at about $95,000 to all the way here at about just below $93,000 on a wick base. If you're on a closing basis, it would be just above $91,000. So as long as Bitcoin is below there, I personally have to have an overall bearish bias, essentially leaning towards general downside. But there are signals in the background that do suggest that for long-term investments, this area that Bitcoin is currently in, give or take about 10% from that area, is likely a good long-term area. Now that's for very, very long-term type stuff. If you're into, more short-term trading, or if you're going to do things on leverage, I don't think that right now is the time to go in, or at least not until we see some objectively defined signals happen, which we'll go over in a minute here. Anyways, there are a few hints of hopium. We'll get into that, but before that, not only as long as Bitcoin is below this major pivot right here, do I personally have to have a bearish bias and, not be looking for any sort of major reversals back onto new all-time highs, bull market on, fucking give me the green dildos and make me some money. No. We also want to look at stochastic momentum. We've seen now the lower end of the higher term timeframes start to potentially turn up here. We can see the daily is actually up right now. The new pivot for momentum is 81,900. The 2-day timeframe also closing tonight will turn up officially above 81,150. The 3-day timeframe will also turn up alongside the other two if Bitcoin can close above about 83,400. So a little bit higher than the other two pivots, but we're starting to see the daily, 2-day, and 3-day potentially turn around. Obviously, the very, very high term timeframes are not in the same direction. 5-day still coming down here below 83.3. 10-day also coming down below 105. 105, 106. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Weekly also coming down below 96. Monthly also coming down hard on bearish divergence below 102. So I do look at this as, let me get rid of that. We've had enough shilling for one day. Let's get into some actual analysis. But yeah, as long as Bitcoin is below those very high term timeframe pivots, it's still going to be kind of weighted in favor of the downside. But if we see the lower end of that spectrum, the daily, 2-day, and 3-day pivots all met, which are kind of close to each other, with the highest one being a little bit above $83,000, I'd look at that as a good indication that Bitcoin is going to play out, a pretty decent bounce here. Again, I wouldn't call it a reversal just yet, but could easily see Bitcoin trading up to like $88,000 to $90,000 $80,000. I do think that would, very likely be a sell on the first pass. However, second pass, maybe not. We'll see. Anyways, as for the hints of hopium here, I actually have it as a note. Hints of hopium, yes, some hints of hopium for the Bitcoin BULAs. We can once again look at these two major moving averages. We're going to be looking at the 200 simple and the 377 exponential moving average. Very, very high term time frame periods, and we can see that Bitcoin is currently oscillating between the two, using the 200 simple as upside resistance and using the 377 as kind of like an increasing support right there. That would essentially give us a more short-term range between what exactly is the 200 is 84,350 to the upside versus about $76,000 to the downside, a little bit lower than the current low. And the reason why I look at this as relevant is because, over the history of Bitcoin, anytime that price action has been between these two major moving averages, it's usually been an accumulation zone or told you that it's a good time to accumulate. Last time was obviously right here from the past summer. Again, it took a long time. It took a really fucking long time. It took a lot of patience for this to actually form a low. But again, in hindsight, if you're long term, I mean, that is a nice area. We had something relatively similar over here as well, a little bit kind of early on in this bull market. Again, when those two moving averages crossed over and Bitcoin was kind of trading between them, those were really, really good long-term opportunities. Same shit over here as well from the 2021 saga when Bitcoin first came down about 50%, reaccumulated and over the course again of 3 months, and then got a major push to the upside. And then we can pull back more examples as well. Obviously, when it's a bear market, that will fail, of course. That's also one of the reasons why I'm keeping an eye on this blue moving average, because as long as Bitcoin's above it, I still think that there is hopium. If and when Bitcoin does start to really close below it, that's when I will start to get quite concerned for a real move down. But yeah, anyways, we've got that. Your short-term breakout to the upside would be notified by not just trading, but I'd really want to see a closure above that 200 simple or that would work in this case, above the 200 simple. Again, that is 84,350. That's essentially synonymous with the PA pivot right there. So those are one and the same at least for what it's worth. Anyways, yes. So what is this likely to look like? All right, coming into an event like we have later today with the FOMC, we know one thing is to be expected: volatility, wicks on both sides, perhaps. But there's no obvious interpretation of the FOMC that we can have beforehand. I mean, the obvious thing would be that they're going to reduce rates, which right now the Polygon market? No, the Poly market is given a 100% probability of not lowering them. So if that really is the sort of general feeling in the market, and the expectation, more importantly, that of course, if they do actually reduce them even by a little bit, I expect that would have a decent effect. And you'll first know with Bitcoin getting back above, again, that 84,300 pivot. That's the first sort of green light for some short-term hopium. Again, it doesn't flip around the whole picture. Still want to see back above at least this high right here, about $93,000. Or if we could actually see the hash ribbons indicator fire off a bicycle, that would be pretty damn good too. But in the short term, as we have been saying for, it seems like a week now, but I don't know if it's actually been that long. I still think that Bitcoin can very easily have a short-term downside move on some, volatile price action from the FOMC and come, even below $80,000, closer to 79, or perhaps even all the way down to the 377 here, that blue moving average. But if it is going to be bullish, the other sort of signal that would make me rather interested, let's say, for at least a big bounce, possible reversal as always, but at least a big bounce, would be if you see essentially a same day reversal or within between today and Thursday. So, 1 day of price action. we'd want to see things come down somewhere around here. It doesn't need to be exactly this level, and then pop back up. If it can reclaim 84.3, that would be a super, super strong signal. It would also be the 3 spike lows that I like to see, especially on major lows. And I expect that, if everything were to go perfectly, then, which it never does, but if everything were to go perfectly, then we'd also put in one last drive, a third drive of bullish divergence here on the daily RSI. As of right now, obviously that it only has 2, so there's not really much to be spoken about right there, but that's kind of what I'm looking for if I am going to be trading to the upside. Again, I do think that in the short term, 88 to 90,000 bucks is kind of like, the likely high for Bitcoin. If it gets there, I think that's certainly a sell on the first pass, maybe not on the second pass, but on the first pass, very likely does get knocked back. And then we come back to it after that, and I'd want to look at it, on an actual video. But as things stands right now, I do think that you're going to be waiting around until FOMC event later. No surprise there, of course. But the easy trade will be after that event happens. I don't think that right now taking trades right here is wise. It's better, in my opinion, if they're going to be playing an event like this, to be playing on the periphery of the range. So again, that would be to the very, very downside, essentially the March lows, to the upside about 88 to 90,000 bucks. With a short-term bias changer, like very short-term bias changer above that 84, what was it, 84.350 pivot. So yeah, of course, the other things that we have been looking at for, being a little bit more confident that Bitcoin is actually putting in a low here is the hash ribbons indicator. We still do not have a blue buy signal over here. So for me, that means I'm not taking any like significant risks within this region. Of course, for very, very long-term spot holdings, that's a different story, but those are like 10-year plays plus. So this still going to take some time. I should note, however, that from the first capitulation signal right here, let me actually go to the chart that I did the study on. Yes, from the first capitulation signal that we saw here on the 3rd of February, it has been, I believe, exactly 41 days now. It has been 44 days. Okay, so 44 days. Why is that relevant? Well, I've actually gone ahead and studied how long on average, like how many days on average it took for that first capitulation signal to then produce a buy signal. And what I found was the average was, let me pull it up over here. Yes, the average was just under 42 days. So we're right around there. And just so you know, the maximum that we've ever seen is a little over 100 days. So, on the worst case scenario, we're probably, we're still like maybe a little bit less than halfway there, but getting close to the halfway point at least. And in the better case scenario, obviously, when it's, when the days from that capitulation signal is higher than 42, it becomes more and more likely that, we actually might see that signal fire off relatively soon. I imagine the projection over here would kind of be anticipating at current trajectory, which very unlikely remains, by the way, because price will dictate this a bit, and I expect that there will be moves today. But at current pace, that would be the first week of April. If Bitcoin can hold it and just not shit the bed completely, doesn't even need to go up that much as well. So yeah, anyways, one last thing here, and we'll go to, which chart do I want to do this on? We'll go to this chart right here, and I want to be looking at the stablecoin dominance. Again, we can look at Tether plus USDC dominance here, and this chart has just enough history actually to populate this, but I did want to outline a couple things for some bull hopium as well, at least for Bitcoin putting in, a major low kind of around what we've already seen for March, and the next likely move is to the upside overall. This is more of a medium/long-term thing, but the weekly time frame for the Tether and USDC dominance did trade all the way up to I think this was last week when Bitcoin put in the lows, all the way up to that white moving average, which is a 200 simple, and closes a rejection. One massive long-legged doji dildo, which is typically a signal of indecision and perhaps even reversal. Obviously, it's still going to take like another few weeks for it to actually really fully confirm a reversal, but we see some other, encouraging signals. If you do want to look at this as likely putting in a high here, which by the way, I should explain, likely benefits, cryptos, namely Bitcoin, because obviously when stablecoin dominance is going up, you expect that people are getting out of, their coins and into their tethers. And of course, when it goes down, well, the opposite. So if this goes down, generally bullish buys for Bitcoin. So yes, one, you have a rejection right there. Two, you would have, if it does confirm, a reversal, you would have a lower high here. So it is certainly possible. And you also have potential for hidden bearish divergence between the highs from September of last year to the highs that we've seen here on March, on this March drive. So, it's definitely possible. But of course, how would you actually be able to confirm that this is a local high, thus a lower high? And, we're likely looking at a next move down for this chart, meaning an up move for the coins chart, for the corns, for the cones. Well, we need to see at current rate a closure on at least a 5-day time frame below, let's call it 6.75%. Right now, trading at 7.5 or a little bit above 7.5%. If we look at just tether dominance, it really is actually the same chart. So if you just want to use this chart, that's fine too. Weekly time frame, same rejection, same potential for hidden bearish divergence. And on this chart, it would be where could we confirm a local high below about 5-10%, that is. So, there are some things in the background, but they're certainly unconfirmed just yet. So again, my main message is that, look, if you're looking for the easy trade, it's not here just yet. You'll probably have some easy scalps upon today's FOMC event. We've gone over the areas of interest for that. And then also what sort of pivots on price action would actually change, the general outlook. So that is where we'll leave it for today. We'll come back at it tomorrow. I pray to fucking God that we actually have something new to look at. I don't even care if it goes down. I just want to look at something new. So we'll see. And again, if you are looking for like the bull hopium scenario, like the perfect bull hopium scenario, I do believe it looks something like this. The same shit that we've been saying for, about a week and a half now, which is likely another try to the downside. Maybe it tests a low, maybe it's slightly higher than the prior low, whatever it ends up being. We want to see a quick reversal from there. If you see something like that, you got the 3 spikes lows, and if it can trade back above 84.3, that would be a really good sign to me that you're going to see Bitcoin run up to very deep 80s/low 90s. Potential for reversal at that point, I guess. But we'll come back at it tomorrow. As always, I want to wish everyone the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.